Welcome to the Hope Show. It's like nectar for your soul. And now, please welcome our hosts, Eric Lamont and Terrorist Strength.
Hello, everybody. Wishing you peace and love wherever you are. Welcome to the Hope Show, where Socratic scourge meets metaphysical truth. The purpose of the Hope Show is to help you find truth and clarity in your life. Each show, we invite the Hope Show family, that will be you, to explore life challenges, toxic relationships, lessons from previous lives, exes that are getting out of prison. Yeah, I'm hopelessly addicted to the show called Life After Lockup. But anyway, all in hopes of helping you heal a little each day. I'm Eric Lamont. I'm your co host, along with the metaphysical majestic, the mojo magnifier, and the man that will tell you that he is not your guru, but he can be your spiritual guide, the pot of purity, Terra Strength. Mr. Strength, oh, buddy, are you ready for this one?
Hey, listen, let's do it, Dr. Lamont. Good to see you, brother. I see you in rare form. You in rare form. You wearing the Notre Dame hat? Is that what I see you
Hey,
wearing?
man, it is always Irish in my house. You know that.
Good to know.
Between myself and my offspring, it is all Notre Dame all the time.
I got you. I got
Right? Listen,
you.
we have some of the most intelligent and honest young minds in America on with us tonight because tonight's topic is one that every single person in America deals with. Listen, I'm not going to be political, but toxic masculinity is alive and well in America, and you know what I'm talking about. But before we get started, tonight's show is brought to you by the Democracy Headquarters, www.democracyheadquarters.com. You can get a shirt like this, Make America Civil Again, and by Smart Tech Digital Agency, grow your business and your brand with Smart Tech. So we're going to bring our guests to the stage. The way it's going to work, we're going to bring our guests to the stage. We're going to introduce them. I'm going to talk a little bit about toxic masculinity, kind of how we got to where we're here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Terrace, and then we're going to bring our guests in and have a conversation with them. So, welcome. I see we got Lee, Keon, Kimani, and JJ. Welcome to the stage, guys. So here's the issue. We have a man problem in our country. The aspirational role model for manhood has always been an unattainable figure. Growing up for me it was John Shaft. And I don't know if you remember John Shaft kind of jumps through the window in a leather jacket and like slays the bad guy. Some people were really into James Bond, and James Bond was a guy who could jump out of a 6-story window and not get hurt, right? And so when you think about it, for some of them, I guess it's LeBron James. Like if you look at this generation now, right, and they aspire to be that guy, and those things are kind of unattainable. Like the reality of it is, 1 in 17,000 people are going to play college basketball who played in high school, and even less are going to make it to the pros. So the idea of what the ideal man is in our country has often been figures that are unattainable. I mean, that guy that that's holding down the 9 to 5 or working a retail job is getting low love and respect for the fact that he brings his bacon home every day and he's holding it down for his family. So the idea of manhood is kind of morphed into this toxic mix of misogyny and money chasing. So I'm going to quickly offer some ideas here about why we got there and how we got there, and we'll dive right in.
Yes. Um, this is this has been an ongoing thing. When you look at our society, we live in a patriarchal society that tends to marginalize the feminine traits or the feminine. And just as you were saying, this is historical. Um, men are more, men are considered, they're for the most part considered superior. We worship, we go to our religious system. We worship Christianity. This country is predominantly Christian. You go to church and you worship God. There's no talk about the goddess. So when you look at the fact that women are marginalized or the feminine is marginalized in deity, we live in a patriarchal society that tends to marginalizes the feminine. Uh, this is what you're going to get for the most part. You know, uh, we looking at I'm looking at the stats here on Who's at fault? Boys face education system bias against them. They fall behind and never catch up. These are some astonishing stats. And our young people, you know, they're feeling the heat of all of this mess. So hopefully tonight we can make more sense out of it. Uh, Eric was doing some. I see you were doing some research on it.
Yeah,
Uh,
so here's kind of the thing. So my argument is that, again, that those ideas of male, of what makes a good man are things that have been largely unattainable. And here are some statistics that kind of bear out, what's happening. Like, we know that boys face an educational system that is against them. It takes the male brain approximately 2 years longer to develop than it does the female brain. So guys start out behind in elementary school, academically and intellectually, never catch up. We many of us grow up without a role male model. I'm sorry, male role model. Either no dad in the home, or a dad who is around sometimes. You're growing up, there are not a whole lot of teachers who were men, right, in our schools. And so what's happened is that contract that where we believe that if the way I was taught is that if you go to school and you study really hard, and you honor your mother and father, and you stay out of trouble, and you do good things in society, you will have a better life than your parents, right? And that has been exploded in America. And you look at some of the statistics, 70-year-olds are 74% more wealthy than they were 40 years ago, and men under 40 are 24% less wealthy. 25-year-olds now make less money than their parents and grandparents did at the same age. And this was the striking statistic: 60% of men aged 18 to 24 live with their parents today. And by the time they're 30, 20% will still live there. And so the number of men aged 18 to 24 who are not working in high school has tripled since 1980. Like, all these things really lead to this toxic soup for men, where they are isolated, often in their homes or in their bedrooms. It leads to boredom, where they, can become marginalized, and not only marginalized, but rationalized. Ignorance, because they're not in the school system, and with no guardrails on them from relationships or jobs or school. Masculinity now has kind of turned into criminality and abuse of power, and bullying. I'm going to throw this up here. This is from Scott Galloway. A lot of these notes are from a book called Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway. But you kind of see how it is a toxic soup. So um, that's kind of what I offer. Like, man, it is hard being a man, right? It is very, very challenging being a man, in large part due to things that we created, right, in our society. So what do you think about that, Terrace?
no, you're absolutely correct on that. It is very challenging. Unfortunately, this generation is paying the price for the sins of the past, if you will. And it's very difficult. To sort this out. The expectations on men are higher than ever. They're higher than ever. The women typically are pissed off because they were abused in the past from the heyday, and that's been transferred. Daughters are hearing their fathers, their parents saying, "Don't depend on a man. Get your education, get your money. Don't depend on a man." So that's it. So that's producing women who tend to be more independent or want to be more independent of men, and that's causing problems in these relationships. And so we have to work to sort that out. We have to get back to what will allow us to be compatible and have more cooperative relationships. We can't ignore the stats. Women
Hey, hey
explicitly
Terrace.
so. Yes.
Hey, Terrence, I've got some feedback that we can't hear you. So can you,
Oh, you can't hear me now?
yeah, can we use a different microphone,
Yeah.
or unplug your microphone and use the computer? In the meantime, let's go to one of our panelists. Like, any one of you guys that want to jump in here, JJ or Kamani or Leek or Keon. Like, what do you guys think about this in general, and how does this kind of translate itself into you guys on a daily basis?
So I got something to say, right?
Who's that talking?
It's JJ.
JJ. Hey, JJ. Good hearing your voice, man.
How y'all doing? So look, right? I think these days, like the young men, like you said, 18, 24, it's like we have idols and stuff, right? That we like kind of want to see because we didn't really have those in the childhood. Most black men don't really, right? So then we see these idols, they're so like far in front of us, like they do all the things that we want to do. They got all the money we want. They get the women, select women that we want and stuff. And then for them, it sees like we see like them so far out of reach. And then like everything they post, we want to post that stuff. So we try to copy them, and it's not really working how we want it to, right?
You know
And
what I
then we
mean?
just get mad. And plus, the economic state of the U.S. right now, like we can work just as hard as our parents and stuff. We're gonna get less low key because like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, look who's president and stuff. Like, look what's going on and everything getting cut. So
Yeah.
then that causes problems a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that you guys face, just men in general, but when I graduated from college, I got an apartment in downtown DC, right out of college, probably 2 years out of college. That was on 16th Street in DC, which is prime real estate, one bedroom, hardwood floors, beautiful apartment. And that apartment for me cost $610 a month. Right, I was only making about $45,000 a year at the time, but I could afford a $610 apartment. That apartment, that exact same apartment in the exact same building, in the exact same spot. Probably the only thing that's changed is they probably painted the room 25 times since I lived there. That same apartment now is $3,000, and so obviously it becomes much more difficult to, as a young man, start your life, start your career, start a relationship, start a family when the economic odds are stacked against you. So I completely understand that. Terrace, I think we got you back. Can we hear
Can
you?
you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you a little bit. I'm assuming we can hear you a little bit better. So I'm not sure how much we missed, but you were talking a little bit about, the matriarchal society and kind of how that is played into that. Can you give us like a 20-30 second recap of what you said in case we missed you?
Yeah, it's. I hope you can hear me now. Can everybody hear me?
We hear you, but
Yeah, I
we're
can hear
not.
you
We're,
better.
we're being
Yeah, I
broadcast.
can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I heard?
So certainly, I mean, certainly a lot of the stats that you were given are certainly true. And it appears that, children today are bearing the sin, they're paying for the sins of their parents, right? Creating a lot of this. And young women now are hearing from their parents, don't depend on men. Get your own money, don't depend on guys, because they want to make sure their daughters aren't being abused because they know how it can be. It's kind of interesting how men teach their daughters this, and it's well intentioned, but it causes problems for them in relationships, right? On the one hand, you're trying to protect your daughter, but you're telling her to be independent. Well, we know in relationships, it's better to move towards cooperation. So they're not doing this to set up their daughters. It's well intentioned. They just want to make sure that their daughters are not stuck being abandoned and the things that they actually see out here. So it's kind of interesting how we end up complaining about that, but then we teach our daughters the opposite, right? So the purpose of this show today is to see if we can make some sense out of this and get a direction moving forward. I just want to say that 30 seconds.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
So Kimani, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good.
Good to hear your voice. So you're on the opposite side of this because I really want to kind of get into how this kind of translates beyond what JJ said about the difficulties in setting up life and being able to have aspirational figures that they can model. You're on the other side of this as a woman, so like you got to choose. With a lot, look, you got to find somebody that you want to potentially spend the rest of your life with. Is it difficult now? Like, is the dating pool, one that allows you to have multiple options to find people? Like, what's your experience?
Oh, wow. Well, nowadays it's really hard for a female because it's like
All
every
right.
guy attention.
Man, you gotta fix that Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we lost you for a second there.
She might be out of commission.
Yeah, I think we lost her. So all right. So Keon, let's go to you. So, um, talk to us a little bit about like your experiences as a young man in the society trying to navigate the challenges you have as a man. And Kimani, we'll get back to you as soon as we get your sound back.
Is my mic working good? Can you
You're
hear me?
fine. Yep, you sound
Yeah,
great.
I know you good,
Okay.
Ken.
So I'll say, I try very hard. I'd say I'm very hard working. Um, I'd say especially what you touched on earlier. the price and rent and everything now, it's like crazy to the young mental right now because it's like I'm working super hard. You know, I'm an MMA fighter and an electrician, so I'm trying to, you know, make a way for myself. And everyone in the all the older generations are telling me, well, you know, this was 600 and my first house was 5,000, and it's like, dang, like, you know, like what am I supposed to do right now? So it
Yeah.
is a little rough and it can get to your mind, but you just have to keep working past it. I think is just keep working as hard as you can.
Yeah. So if you were to describe the traits that you think would be ideal for you as a young man to be the best man that you could be away from that whole toxicity side, what does that look like to you?
I think it's really just staying away from the noise. Like all the I see when people are going to an influence, like JJ said, like when people are looking at social media and things like that, I see it as okay, you're going with a collective that could go anywhere. If the majority is heading in one direction, head in another. Like head in whatever you think is good for you and stay out of the way and focus on things that are good for you, honestly. And if I think, especially with a woman, like if you find a woman that'll stay out the way with you, just stay with that for real. That's all you need. Like you just need your world. You don't need all the noise and all the you don't need to do the same thing as other people to seem liked and all this. Just
I agree
not
with that.
for real.
Who was that?
JJ.
Oh, JJ.
Yes, sir.
All
Speak
right.
on it.
I think we have Kamani back. Kamani, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just really sad.
Gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Kamani, we're gonna get you the aluminum foil hat in a minute because we
Yeah,
still
she
have
in
a
the
problem.
matrix right now.
We're having a problem with that Wi-Fi.
She has a problem with her audio.
Yeah, yeah. So what's you guys experience like with the women in your generation, like, you know,
Oh man.
Oof.
like
Man.
what talk about some of the pressures that you face as young men and and what their expectations are based on, you know, their experiences with other men who might be toxic.
JJ, you
Ah.
go first, buddy.
All
JJ,
I
you
right.
know
go
So,
I
first.
can I can I can touch on this one.
you Malik, you go first, real
Man,
quick.
let JJ go
So,
first, man.
I mean, no, JJ, yeah, JJ definitely has a story. We'll leave that
Let,
I
for
let's
have
last.
save
like,
the juicy story.
Yeah,
Let's save
leave
the
it for
juicy story
last.
from
But
JJ next.
I will say, with
I
this
bet.
generation, it's unfortunate that a man can come along and ruin something for the men that are going to follow after that specific man. Like it's you have higher expectations. The you have higher expectations now than we would have had 2 years ago if we were dating a woman then. If you kind of understand what I'm trying to say.
Mhm. So you're saying it's
Leaders,
becoming increasingly difficult for
yes,
you.
because of toxic masculinity,
Mhm.
um, it is becoming increasingly difficult to find a woman that will ride or die with you or appreciate you for the values that you bring to her. Like we can be chivalrous, but it won't matter because a man was chivalrous, but he also cheated, or he also uh, beat her, or so on. Which is why it's just hard to find the right woman now.
So you have encountered females who were coming out of relationships with toxic men who were physically abused.
Yes, and they will physically abuse you because of it.
That is correct.
Oh God, bro.
I have never hit a woman, but I'm getting
Appreciate it.
hands put on me.
And we're not laughing. It's not a funny topic, but
It's
the
not
way
That's
you're
all
funny.
right.
presented the
It's funny. It's
topic
funny
is
to
funny.
you.
Yeah, I will honestly say that that when I was you guys' age, there was and Leek has heard this story. There was a young lady that I was dating who was physically she hit me or kicked me or something, and I literally in that moment got up and said, "All right, get your stuff." I walked her to the subway and put her on the subway as the last time I saw her because I didn't want to be in a situation where I ever felt like, you know, I had to
Damn.
defend myself and God forbid have to, you know, have to strike her back because she was wailing on me. And that literally was the last time I saw her. But I want to touch on what you said, Malik, when you said that it's more difficult now than it would have been 2 years ago. And so, JJ, let's throw it to you. You said you had a story that sounds like it ties into this. Tell us your story.
So right around 2 years ago, maybe three, like in the dating game, like it was always roller coasters for me. So this is part of the bad time it was, right? So like you know how like Malik said, like something could happen in their past, right? Some women have demons in their past that they'll never get over. And you gotta kind of like compete. Like you gotta compete with her emotions and stuff and like her like imagination of what you should be. And you gotta battle the world too. So you gotta battle the world when you go outside. When you come back home, you gotta battle your woman. You know what I'm saying? That is very hard sometimes, especially when a woman's not mentally well. Like, I don't know what happens in her past that's like other than boys and stuff. But I feel like men, the toxic ones, can destroy women. They could be good, but you're always gonna get the second, you know what I'm saying, the second plate, and it's never good, basically. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like, man, it sounds like it's really, really rough for you guys. Like I kind of feel for you, but I'm not buying a lot of it. Like, let's be real about it. You guys are sitting here saying that all the guys came before you guys ruined it for you guys because you guys are perfect. Like, I know you guys are
Oh yeah, no,
channeling some toxic
nobody's
masculinity.
saying
Let
we're
me
perfect.
dive into that,
You know,
huh?
nobody's saying we're
Uh,
perfect. I'm just, I mean, personally, I've never
The
cheated,
show is toxic masculinity, not
but
toxic femininity.
I
All right,
know,
let's go.
but I feel like the one thing that I got that kind of set a standard for me is that I saw my father. He's very cool. He gets on my nerves sometimes, a lot of the time. But uh, I got to see him and how he treated my mother, who I love to death,
There
love
you
her,
go.
and
There you go.
seeing that example, kind of set the standard and the expectation for me. I know I'm always supposed to bring my girl flowers. I know I'm always supposed to take her out and pay for her and her meals. I know I'm supposed to give her gifts and
Mhm.
treat her the way that she's supposed to be treated. I know that I'm always supposed to open the car door for her. I know I'm always supposed to open the door for her. So that is something that I got. And it took me a lot to get there because I will openly admit, in my early relationships, I was incredibly controlling, and I didn't realize just because it had been the first time I actually cared for a girl. So I had to learn from my own mistakes in order to get to a point where I knew how to treat a woman. But I will say that it is getting increasingly hard, especially with the rise of social media, because now with TikTok and with YouTube Reels and Instagram Reels, we set exactly what we're supposed to see. And there's this constant battle between genders now. And that has caused men to feel like women are the problem. It's caused women to cause that women to feel like that men are the problem, and on top of that, with this political divide, that's kind of creating this weird stigma around dating in the relationship game, and on top of that, dating apps are booming, and that's created this
oh
hookup
man.
culture that we can feel like, oh, if this dude doesn't do this one thing for me, or this girl doesn't do this one thing for me, I got plenty of other options. I'm gonna go window shop on Tinder. Like that's what our generation has come to, specifically with this dating game that we've created. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting point. I want to say that based on you said on how your father treats your mother must be absolutely
Oh
stunningly
yeah, she
beautiful and a wonderful person.
yeah, she's wonderful. She's wonderful.
Mhm.
I talk to her every day if I can. Not so much my dad, but
Great. I'm sorry, JJ or Keon, you were about to say something.
Oh no, that's all good.
Okay.
no, I think JJ definitely should touch on the dating apps and how a woman can
Jay, did you go shopping at Tinder? Is that where you shop for girls?
I like to do mutual friend
Yeah.
groups and stuff. You know, the internet is really crazy. I met
yeah,
some
can I
weird women.
JJ, I have a question for you though.
What's
Can
going
I
on?
ask you why you have shifted towards mutual friend groups?
So, all right, my whole dating experience on like dating apps or like Instagram DMs and stuff like that. Like, I'll meet a girl, right? It seems cool, but I don't know what it is. I think something's wrong with their brain sometimes, but I think something ain't working. Because Instagram causes their IQ, I don't know what it is, just go
Yeah.
down. And mutual friends, you can become friends first. They get to see you around often, and then you can get build connection, and it's just way better, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
See, I'm gonna have to cut you off. See, here's what's going on here, right? What's happening here is that we got way too much testosterone, and we need to soften this up. So I'm going to see if I can get Kamani. Kamani, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. So can you guys hear Kamani?
Yep.
All
Yep.
Yeah, a
right.
little
Well,
bit.
what were you going to say, Kamani?
Oh, it's hard to date as a female, and it's like, especially because it's like a guy always gonna come with intentions. Just like, say if I want to talk to a guy gonna want to have sex with me, gonna want to take me out, but he gonna want something like at the end of it. I feel like it's better off female being independent than to rely on a guy. Because at the end of the day, if we keeping it a being, we just to meet the niggas.
Okay. So what Kiani is saying there is, if you guys could hear her, is that at the end of the day, guys, if they take you out on a date, they ultimately are going to want something at the end, right? And if you don't give them something at the end, then it becomes a problem. So I'm going to throw that out to you guys because that is obviously something that's probably been around forever, but doesn't necessarily lead to good relationships. And it's probably way worse for you guys now because you do live in the disposable relationship society. So I throw that out to you, either you, Terrace, or to the guys. That's her basic assertion. She says you might as well be alone as a woman because if you're not giving it up as a woman, the guys are going to move on to the next one. They don't want to establish lasting relationships. Terrace, what's your take on that, Terrace?
Yeah, I was just, it was very interesting hearing the guys talk about this and their perspectives on this because, both sides feel like, I don't want to give unless I get, you know what I'm saying? And again, Eric, you and I've had multiple conversations about this, the importance of understanding each other's perspective, right? You know, hearing this guys talk, I would just encourage these young men to learn more about women. And the one guy, I don't know, was it Leak, who has a beautiful mother? That's beautiful to hear because he's in a situation where he's seeing it modeled. He's seeing how to be as a man because he has that. For many of us, we don't have that. And so if we're not learning about this, we're just out here going willy-nilly, having sex with multiple women, but the women that we want to be with, we want her to be a virgin for the most part, right? We have all these double standards, and invariably you're going to have a lot of complications. So I definitely understand what Kamani is saying, and she's right. A lot of guys do feel like, if I'm going to take you out and spend all this money, what you going to do for me? And that's not going to necessarily work good in building her trust in the guy. He wants something for his money. She don't want to give up what she owns just because she's going to get a meal or something like that. And this is something that we got to talk about. But this is real. This is what goes on, and it becomes compounded with social media. You know what I'm saying? That's what I hear these guys saying. So, but I want to hear more about what JJ has to say about his experiences, if he doesn't mind.
Okay, so this is my past right now. I have a loving girlfriend. She's amazing. Like everything's worked out with that. But in the past, before I got there, it was crazy. I just remember this one girl. Okay, still one of my demons today. You know what I'm saying? I can't get out of my head sometimes. It's being annoying.
Say
So
that.
during
No,
my first year of college, I think the first year was COVID. So my sophomore year of college, right? Um, met this girl, kicked it off. First 2 weeks of school, been with her ever since, right? But like it was very toxic during that time because me personally, I'm depressed at this time. My mental is not good because I just got injured in football. I'm out for the season. That's the only reason I went to that school just to play. And it's like the one thing that I thought I was only good at, I lost it. So I thought I had nothing. And all my friends play football. They were doing their own thing. So I was basically isolated in the school. And then she was like the only person I really talked to. So she saw me in my low point in my life. Like the money wasn't coming in as much anymore. Like everything's just bad for me. And she was there for the most part, but I felt like I think I cried in front of her one time, right? Because I peeped something she did, right? And I was crying. I don't know why I was crying. It was just came out, right? I think after that, I don't think she respected me anymore. Like I was low and I didn't believe in myself. I think it was just mainly my fault in the beginning. And it was just hard for her to, get me on my feet and stuff. So basically, she said, all right, bet. I'm gonna start talking to other niggas. Like you're not all
Hey,
that,
hey,
right?
hey, we don't use that word.
My bad, my bad. I'm gonna start talking to other grimy men, right? So I bet I'm doing my thing. We got an argument. She went to a party. Now at this party, I didn't know she was going for it. It was last minute. She went with her friend, and her friend is not very, she can't really hold it in sometimes, right? So next day she comes back, and then a few months go by. I see some group chat messages, something getting slapped on something. I don't know. I seen some stuff I didn't want to see. I had to break up with her. There's more to the story than that, but the main point of the story is I think I caused my own downfall in a relationship, basically. And if I stayed 10 toes down, stayed on my stuff, and like actually focused, I think she would be more inclined to stay with me, if that makes sense.
So are you saying because you showed vulnerability to her, you feel like she broke up with you because you were vulnerable to her?
I think that was probably like at least 50% of why. And I don't know, like most people say, like, yeah, find somebody that'll go through that with you. But like her, specifically her, I think because I showed my vulnerability in the moments right there, she kind of lost respect for
When
sure.
she cheated on you, that's what you saying?
Exactly. Like if she respected me for real, she would never
Uh,
even think of doing none of that. Feel me?
100%.
And I
So,
can't expect somebody to respect me based off nothing.
so how does that make you feel about being vulnerable going forward? Are you less likely to show your vulnerability now?
I would say nowadays, it's like I feel like I can, but to an extent, like I feel like I can't show my tears to the next woman. You know what I'm saying? You can be my wife for 20, 30 years. Like I'm gonna try not to cry in front of her. You know what I'm saying? Now the one I got right now, she won't care. She gonna be there for me. But leading up to that, I was not doing none of that. No vulnerability. I didn't want to seem sad. If you left me again, I would not care. Like I would try to act like I put that mask on.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the toxicity that we all display comes from our inability to be vulnerable. I know I've been very guilty of, based on how I grew up and no running water and electricity at times, and raised by a mother who had to be a mother and a father, right? I learned very early on how to compartmentalize, right? You go to school, you don't have running water or electricity, but you go to school and you pretend like you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of learned how to not be vulnerable. It was almost like, particularly in the neighborhood I grew up in, if you were vulnerable, you were weak. And so a lot of that translated into all of my relationships, and including my marriage, where it was very difficult for me to just open up and just raise my hand and say, man, I'm struggling, right? And so that's one of the things that I think contributes to our inability as men to not be toxic, because we're just so afraid to be vulnerable that we put up the bravado. So many of us put up the bravado, go out and buy a big pickup truck and drive around and act like we're the toughest guys, in America, when we're all hurting and suffering from a tremendous amount of pain inside. What do you think about that, Terrence?
Absolutely. I mean, what you're saying is absolutely right. And the reality is both are suffering. The women are suffering, the men are suffering. We're both suffering. And we aren't able to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. You know what I'm saying? We're not moving into these relationships empathically where we understand. And this is why I say over and over and over again that we need to learn more about each other, right? Because we don't have a choice. For a lot of men, I mean, it has to be overwhelming for young men today, because you feel like you're competing with social media. The women can always go and get validated anytime she wants to. You're dating her. She can go on the site and get 15, 30 men looking at her. And we feel, that takes away our feelings of control, right? Because as men, part of the masculine is to feel like you're in control, leadership, all those types of things. Well, today, because of technology and everything, the game has changed, and it appears that women have a lot more power than they used to have. They don't really, but it feels that way when you're in it, because as a man you're asked to present more. You got to go out here and present more. You got to make more money. She can go to the dollar store, we feel, and put on makeup, and all of a sudden she'll get picked up by a guy. It's not the same thing for us. So we need for the women to understand that perspective from men and where they're coming from, and we need for men to understand the same thing, because it's real on both sides. Everyone doesn't have great parents to model it the way Leaks has it. We don't all have great parents to model it. So for us, we have to learn. I know for me, I have to learn. And through studying and learning, I've learned to appreciate the feminine more, and therefore appreciating myself more. And so, but yeah, as a young person, it's tough because you're looking up. You're like, man, how can I even afford a family in this climate? How can I even have kids? This is the stuff that guys are thinking about. And I don't think women understand that. You know what I'm saying? And women have a lot of fears because they're the ones, they want to make sure that if they make a baby with you, first of all, you'll want to marry them. You want to be with them. You won't reject them. And you can afford to take care of them and their children. I mean, that's biology for the feminine. That's part of her wiring, is to make sure. This is why she wants to know whether you have money or not, because that's synonymous with you being able to take care of her and her child, basically. That's biology. And if we're honest, we want to be able to do that as men. We want to be able to have a family and be able to take care of our family. That's something that we want. The question is, in this climate, financially and what's going on socially, can we do that? Right? And
Right.
so it becomes a mess. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Eric.
So let me put a bow on that. So what we're basically saying, if I can sum up what everybody has said here, because I want to shift gears here, is because of the tremendous challenges and cost of living, et cetera, it becomes much more difficult for men to do those things that historically men have done: provide for themselves, provide for the families, provide for the people that are important for them. That has made it much more difficult, in addition to the advent of social media, et cetera. It's made it much more difficult for male and females to have solid relationships, which leads to this downward spiral of connectivity between males and females. Like, that's kind of what we're getting, right? So let's shift gears a bit to the guys, because that's one side of it. Like, being able to have male female relationships is one side of it, right? The flip side of that is, I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, I was always that guy. Because I loved and respected my mother, I was always that guy who did not like guys who expressed toxic behavior or showed toxic behavior. So as a result, and give you the best example, as a result, I was at a swim party when I was a senior at Penn, and some guys were picking girls up and throwing the girls in the pool. And you could tell the girls did not want to be thrown in the pool, didn't want their hair messed up, whatever. And they were just being guys, right? And so I, being, a guy who lifted a lot of weights back then because of football, decided that I was going to throw the guys in the pool who were throwing the girls in the pool, right? I'm surprised I did. Today I probably get shot, but that's kind of how I rolled back then. He said, yeah, that's a fight.
I mean, not really, but
So my question for you guys then is, does this toxicity now also affect your ability to connect with other men and other guys your age? Like, are you separate from this group? Is it difficult for you guys to have meaningful relationships where you can really connect as guys and talk about some of the challenges that you're having in life every day? Like, is it more difficult as a result?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and especially as an African American, I feel like being African American doesn't help either, because there's this want to be what we call YN, and that's it kind of forces us to test each other out before we even speak to each other. is weird. Like, we all want to project this tough, like, if you mess with me, I'm gonna shoot you type act, which forces us not to even. I don't know. I feel like Keon and JJ can add on to this, but the toxic masculinity among men has it's kind of driven us to not be able to connect in the ways that we would want to connect with friends. So yeah.
I disagree. See, it's something that doesn't want to be talked about, but at least where I live in Omaha, is very uh separate worlds. Omaha's a diverse city, but it's separate worlds. And actually, I'll say I don't like that notion because I get along. When I go back to North Omaha, it's seen as a hood. That's where I'm less likely to get in a fight. That's where I'm treated the best. I'm treated more as an equal. I'm actually treated more as an outsider around, it's, I hate to say it, but when I'm a minority in a space, I'm treated weirdly in those moments. And it's hard to connect because the worlds are so different, and things that are said on social media create such a notion, and hate can be spreaded so much easier that it really gets to people's minds that maybe they're not around somebody who looks like me. So what are they going to think if they're around me? I think it's more that. I actually think I get along way more around my own people and around youth my age and stuff. I don't really see that. I think I do better around, I think it's more of worlds are so separate, and social media is creating such a hate notion. That's what I really think it is.
Yeah, we have a caller who goes by the name of Optimist, and we're going to add Optimist to the call. Optimist, are you there? Optimist, where'd you go?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you
I'm here.
fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Talk a little
This
louder.
is a great show. I just wanted. Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a great show, and I appreciate you guys talking about this topic. Because I do think it's very important, especially to like younger kids. I'm a 29-year-old, and trying to date out here, and it seems rough at times. I like the perspective of you talking about like if those toxic, like to make guy friends as well as like in this day and age. I like to think that like a lot of things kind of pinball off of one another. So nowadays I feel like it's not necessarily harder to make genuine friends, but I do feel like a lot of guys go through loneliness, and that does affect their behavior, and such as like it being harder to possibly date and attract women has also caused them to act a certain way when they get around women, because it's not as easy to get around women, so they start exhibiting different behaviors. And so I feel like you have a lot more corny guys. And those aren't always like good, because corny men they're not able to regulate their emotions well, and then they might end up dirty macking or throwing you under the bus to like try and please women that are in the area, and that's not conducive to building like successful bonds at all.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Optimist. There was a statistic that I didn't say earlier. 18 to 45%, believe it or not, of 18 to 24-year-olds have never approached a woman in person. Right. And that right there is scary when you consider that that's almost half of guys who've never been able to walk up to a woman and just say, hello, how you doing? I'd like your number. Right. Right. And that's a scary, that's a scary thought. Well, thank you, Optimist. Thanks for your call. And where are you calling from? You were calling from Philadelphia?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
Calling from New Jersey. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, man, what a crazy mixed up world we live in, right? So, guys, I'm going to ask you guys this, what do you think are some techniques, and we really want to get your perspective on this too, Terrence. Talk to us about, some techniques that you guys think might work for you guys. And we can give you guys the solutions, but a lot of times, what are some of the things that you guys think you can do to give, to have better relationships with other guys? And then we'll ask Kamani, for her opinion about, some ways that men can approach her more with less toxicity. But you guys, what do you think? There's some things that you guys can do just to be better at all of this, better at how you approach, relationships with young ladies, and better at being able to develop closer bonds with men.
Bro, you gotta call your friends out. I feel like the times that I've jacked up as a man, specifically with men, like both of like my friends have called me out on things, and it's made me sit there and think and reflect on how I need to be a better friend. And that's just, and on top of that, like, yeah, I mean that's really it, honestly. Like, you just got to have an open line of communication with anybody, and that's the only way you will be able to grow. So
Yeah, yeah. To that end, I have my oldest and dearest friend I grew up with elementary school. We played football together. There have been times when we have lost connection, in large part because I'm kind of one of those guys. It's kind of like everybody, live and let live, and life will pass by, and I might not talk to you for 5 years. And he caught me on it a couple times. He had to call me on it probably 2 or 3 times, and I had an issue with it again because of that whole lack of vulnerability thing. But I kind of realized that you have to meet people where they are. And so I decided that I was going to redouble my efforts, and reach out to him, right, at the pace at which he wanted to be reached out to. And lo and behold, man, it is like helped the relationship 25 fold, right? I can't imagine going through life now without having that regular conversation with him. And then I've got another friend who's been, two guys who've been adult friends of mine, who I talk to on a consistent basis about the 4 topics that men talk about. What are the 4 topics that men talk about, Terrace?
The 4 topics
The
that
four topics that all men talk about. Anyone you guys want to guess?
relationships,
That's
money,
one.
sports.
money,
Sports. That's
sports.
two. Yep.
And women.
Women would fall into relationships,
Yep.
sports,
Okay.
money, politics. Yeah, that's
Politics. Yeah.
pretty much it. That's all. So, ladies out there, that's all we talk about. Like, if you're not around, that's all we're talking about. If we're not talking about one of those things, that's we just don't go there. So, anyway,
I want to
so
hear what Kamani says about what changes she would like to see in men or how they approach her or whatever.
Y'all can hear me?
Yep, loud and
you're
clear.
fine perfectly.
I feel like men just need to be themselves, and I feel like y'all need to build a friendship with a female before even trying to jump into a relationship or a
Or jump
talking
into her
stage.
pants, right?
Yeah, because it's some boys mentally don't be there, so they'll find girls to talk to just to push out what they got going on out their heads. Like, oh, I'm gonna talk to this girl. We're gonna talk. Oh yeah, she gonna give up some cutty. Da 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 da. Then you get around your friends, you want to show off, and that'd be a big turn off us. So I would say like y'all just need to stop showing off, build a friendship, build boundaries with a female that you're trying to talk to, and don't be so materialistic and flashy. Like, gotta no, you just gotta be yourself.
And I got something to say on that, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
I think that it touches on both women and building male relationships. Is people got to work on themselves first. Like, you got to figure out the type of person you are. You got to figure out what being a better person is. And I think that whether it's a woman that aligns with you in the time that you're trying to be better, or new people and a friend that comes along just in the midst of whatever you're doing while you're trying to be better, I think that that's the people that you keep around. I think people got to they got to focus on working on themselves, and then you'll attract the people that you need in your life when you're becoming a better person. I feel like that's really what it is.
That is
But
very
they
true.
also gotta, but they sometimes gotta grow up too. People be
That's
childish
being a
when you
better
try to
person.
date them. No, y'all is like men nowadays. They're really childish and petty. You think females are childish and petty? No, y'all are like really petty. Y'all will go to lengths to even sleep with somebody's friend. Like if y'all even feel like your girl was stepping out on you or being disrespectful. But I mean it's on both ends too, but it's just I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird.
Yeah, sounds like we have a lot of work to do. Leak, you have any other thoughts?
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
J,
it's
JJ, you got any other thoughts on it?
I just got one more thing to say about like trying to date women nowadays. The best advice somebody gave me is to always vet. Even when you're trying to get friends, a woman, anything, vet them real hard. Like before you even think about moving forward with them, ask them hard questions that they have to answer. Use thought. Like if you hear something you don't like, you can either call them out or don't see them next time, and you don't waste too much time. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Keon, any final words from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody got great points. I think that honestly, it's a man and a woman thing. I think because even men are having problems building relationships with each other, so we can't really say that it's all the women's fault. I think that a lot of it is just so much has changed. Like just hearing you guys speak from older generation, I can just tell that so much has changed in this time and we're dealing with something different. And honestly, we just all have to remember, being better and being one and loving each other, regardless of our, what we think is the key at the end of the day to fix everything. That's what I think.
Yeah. Keon, times have changed so much. I was just telling my son this a couple days ago that we didn't even have microwaves when I was growing up. Like if you wanted to eat something for the game, you had to start cooking a full half hour before the game.
Yeah.
That's some
Can
You
I
know
real
say
what I'm saying?
something for
friendship
the
right there.
ladies? Can I say
Absolutely.
something to the ladies?
Sure.
yes.
Ladies, check on your man's mental. They be mentally checked out sometimes, and sometimes when they feel like we argue with them, we just don't argue with them. Make sure they cool mental wise. Make sure they're okay. Don't argue with them. Don't start fights with them. Some days they just want to play the game. Just let them play the game. Like we all be needing that space sometimes, and I feel like that's where everybody go wrong in relationships. We don't give each other that space to be like ourselves. So yeah, make sure you check on their mental.
That is very real.
That's real.
Because
That's real.
sometimes I was telling this to my sister earlier. Sometimes men just need space. Sometimes men just need a break. We have real expectations, and
And girls, when they say they need a break, they mean a break to play the game or clear their mind, not a break from you.
exactly. But yeah, sometimes men just need a break.
I think those are all great comments. Keon, I really, really agree with what Keon was saying about working on yourself, you know, starting with I first and doing the work on yourself so that knowing that as you become a better person, you attract better people into your experience. I'm paraphrasing what he was saying, and that could not be more true. We have a panel of young people on here. I would encourage you guys to do the work on yourself, to read books. I have a list of books to learn about the female brain and the male brain and the way of the superior man and things like that. Grab these books, read these books, and try to go to therapy, not because you're mentally crazy, but a therapist can help you to delve into yourself. Because the more you know yourself, then you're going to pick girlfriends and boyfriends differently, knowing more about yourself. So you got to major in I in order to be a better boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or husband or whatever. And that goes on both sides. It goes on both sides because we have everything out here. We have toxic feminine, toxic masculine. It's all out here. And our jobs as souls is to navigate this, and the way we navigate it is through remembering what we are and who we are and doing the work. So when you do that, it doesn't matter about social media. It doesn't matter about anything new technology coming down the pipe because the game is the game. It's just like in basketball. It doesn't matter whether the game changes. If you can dribble and handle and shoot, you're going to be able to play in any era, right? So it's about your own personal skills and knowing who you are and knowing what you are as a man, if you're a man, and what you are as a woman, and knowing what your job is energetically when it comes to dealing with the opposite sex. If you do that, it doesn't matter what's out there. You're going to run into toxic people. You're going to be able to know them by their traits. So the more you learn about these things, keep logging into the Hope Show and checking us out, because we're going to talk about all these things so you get more clarity. Okay, but you guys are pretty bright. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually very impressed tonight.
Hey, you know what? Listen, man. You know,
The same
sometimes we
thing.
worry. Sometimes we worry about the future of the country because we
Exactly.
watch what's happening in Washington. But
Exactly.
all it takes is a conversation with some people in their 20s, and you find out that America can have a very bright future. So, here's what we can agree on, right? Number one, we only scratched the surface here. We probably need to do another show and probably break this down into some chunks. And we could do a series of these shows about those individual aspects of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity as well. We know that being a man is not about fighting, right? We know that it's not about being misogynistic or disrespecting women. We know that it's not about the clothes that you wear. We know that it's not about the number of women that you lay. According to Scott Galloway in his book, Notes on Being a Man, which came out last week, there's a three-legged stool to being a man. Number one is it's a job, man, to protect. And that means not only protecting those in your life who are important to you, but also not picking on vulnerable people. And again, we can go back to Washington and look at all the vulnerable people who are being picked on in our country right now. I hate to be political, but we need to make America civil again. But manhood is about protecting those people that are important to you. It's about providing, right? And the providing could also mean not only financial resources, but emotional resources, and being the ballast, right, that absorbs, the hits that the people in your life take. And then number three, obviously, is procreate, right? And in order to procreate and create other good human beings, obviously, we need to kind of solve some of the financial and economic issues we have in our country to make it possible for people to procreate and be able to take care of be take care of those that are most important for them. So I want to give the final thoughts to you, Terrace, if you want to take 20 seconds. Thank you to the guests. JJ, always good to hear your voice. Keon, man, my favorite MMA fighter. Keon, I still have not got back in the ring, Keon. I am aching to find a class so that I can get back in it. There is nothing more exciting than standing toe-to-toe to somebody,
Absolutely.
and having them look, we can take a little sidebar here. We got a little time. So I was taking classes out in Omaha with a guy who used to fight in the UFC, and my son and I went to, basically you went to the class and then you earned your spot in the fight at the end of the year that was called Seasons Beatings, because they had it right around Christmas, right? And so, which is great. But I got to tell you, like, my first real fight in this club was with a guy who I thought I was going to beat. He was half my size. He was older than me and slower than me, but he really knew how to box, and he really beat me up. So there's some masculinity that wasn't toxic because we all signed up for it. We were just having fun. But again, Keon, always good to hear your voice. And Malik, man, congratulations on having a great mother and father that have kind of taught you some good stuff. It sounds like you're on your way. And Kimani, thank you for being here, because without you, we'd have had way too much testosterone on this conversation. So thank you for adding some softness to our conversation. So with that, Terrace, you got some books you wanna put out there again?
Can I say one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Because I held this point, but it was kind of touching on what Keon and Terry said about working on yourself. The one thing I have my dad is incredibly old, his knees be buckling and everything. But
Not too much.
the one thing that he taught me, that he consistently says, this is an old saying, an old phrase, because he's old, but you can't love anybody else unless you love yourself. And
Right.
that's touching on specifically what Keon said about, working on yourself before you get to know anybody else. So and what you said, knowing yourself and that's what therapy is so important, because you learn about yourself and it allows you to connect in different ways with other people. But yeah, I just wanted to say that just you can't love anybody else until you love yourself. So
I'm pretty. Thank you very much for that. All true. I'm pretty sure that your dad is not as old as you make him sound.
his knees buckle.
Not
Like you
too
seen
much.
that? You seen the meme
Not
where the
too
chicken
much.
falls off the bone?
Huh?
what did you say?
Man, I've heard his dad knees too. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Oh my goodness! I'm glad my son.
Oh my god! Hey, Terrace, give us some books, man. Let's get these dudes off of here.
Listen, man.
Thank you,
Listen.
Kamani, for sticking up for Malik's dad.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, so here's some books I recommend you guys to read. The Female Brain by Luann Brizendine, and she also made a book on the male brain. You know what I'm saying? The Way of the Superior Man by David Dita, a great book, easy read that will give you guys perspective on the polarities and energies of the feminine. Dear Lover for the Woman by David Dita. That's the version of the book for women. And of course, the book that Eric was talking about, Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway, that he referenced tonight on the show. I recommend you guys read these books. It'll give you more insight into how, for men, you will learn more about the female brain and understand her a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? And so will help you to manage these relationships a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you kids, to me, are far more advanced than we were. We were your age growing up. I'm serious about that. You guys know a lot more. And I guess that's the pros and cons of the information age that we're in and social media and everything. You guys are a lot more informed. So kudos.
Thank you.
Yeah, I felt encouraged. For the night. Yep. Eric, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Hey, we're back in 2 weeks on the Hope Show. Again, thanks to all our guests. Terra Strength, always a pleasure to be in the presence of the Pontiff of Purity.
Oh, here we go.
Remember, guys, as we say, as we sign off every week, go love somebody. Tell somebody you love them.
Tell somebody you love them. All right.
Yep.
Make sure you do that. It's good talking to you guys.
All right, you guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Bye,
love you.
everybody.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.